Unit 8 outlines the birth of Isaac and God's provision for Hagar. In Unit 8, we will examine the fulfillment of God's amazing promise to provide a son to and through the aged Abraham and Sarah. In the intervening material of Genesis 18, several scenes unfold. God reveals to Abraham the coming destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, and Abraham pleads with God on behalf of these sinful cities, the region where his nephew Lot and family are residing. But two, the experience of God's messengers in the twin cities evidenced the character of the residents and the need for judgment that would befall the city soon later. But then God remembers Abraham's family of Lot, his daughters. They are delivered from that destruction only then to commit sexual immorality with the scheming daughters in the aftermath of that destruction. A fourth element of the scene, Scene 4, as Walke describes it, Abraham lapses in his own faith in a relationship with the Philistine Abimelech of Gerar, attempting again, like he did in Egypt, to pass off Sarah as his sister to protect himself. The same Abraham who defeated the kings of Mesopotamia in chapter 14 is now afraid of a local king, a local tribal king, Abimelech. But God again intervenes. God blesses in spite of Abraham's unfaithfulness. In the life of this foreign leader, on behalf of Abraham and Sarah, God intervenes. And Abraham is blessed again in spite of his waywardness. At the end of the scene, Abraham prays for Abimelech, and the king's family is restored. Then the narrative finally moves toward that promised fulfillment. God's faithfulness to his covenant promises, in spite of the occasional waywardness of his servants, places the spotlight on God and his intent to bless Abraham and Sarah and ultimately all the nations of the earth. The birth narrative itself is a relatively short one, but poignantly pregnant with divine revelation. Yahweh intervened in the life of Sarah just as he promised, at the divinely appointed time that he had revealed to him when they were circumcised, as a covenant sign in chapter 17. Now, of course, Isaac, meaning laughter, was his name, and he was properly then circumcised on the 8th day as commanded by God. The scene then turns again to laughter, like in verses 7 and 8. There it turns to anger and discord, but once again God intervenes. The discord between Sarah and Hagar, with their departure, would end up with God blessing the household of Hagar and Ishmael. God's abiding presence and provision for this mother and son echoes throughout the text. In the final scene of chapter 21, a covenant relationship between Abraham and another Abimelech related to well-based water supply in the area highlights God's promised blessing in the promised land, the land of Abraham's sojourn, where he has been taught an ever-deepening faith in an ever-faithful God.